Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency Bias Radio with me as your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trill, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Metro Kaiba, all of the above on that ISAT test, and ACT. You know what it is. But for this rant, ladies and gentlemen, I will need to ask for some spiritual assistance from the ancestors. So I've called upon the spirit of Marcus Garvey to help assist me in breaking down how Nicole and Dani and Christmas somewhat are all not only playing anti-black games, which I've already broken down last Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to continue this story, this narrative, because I know CBS Viacom won't tell this side of the story. I know these white platforms won't tell this side of the story. So because of that, it is incumbent upon me to do this for my people. And that's why this ninth rant of Big Brother 22 All-Stars will be entitled Fauxmance Gate. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what I have witnessed during Tyler's first 2 days as an HOH reign has been completely racist, completely disrespectful. Now, it's not on Tyler. Spoiler alert there. Technically speaking, Tyler isn't doing anything wrong. But the thing is, his HOH reign is essentially being controlled by the exact players doing racist shit. And see, here's the thing. Everyone thinks it's so easy being an ally of what matters to black people. All you got to do is say a few things here, march a little bit there, and then you go back to your nice life, living middle to upper class, and you could give a fuck about what we're dealing with in the struggle, right? I'd argue it's the same thing, but in reverse when it comes to these races. If you're an ally to an anti-black based player, you're an anti-black based player by accessory, okay? By affiliation. And that's just the truth of it. So unless you stand up to that bullshit, you are enabling that bullshit. I need to stress that before I get into these notes, before I get into breaking down and backing up my point and thesis, ladies and gentlemen, because there's a lot of selective amnesia. There's a lot of selective goofball shit going on here. To be completely honest with you, I feel like more people should have been listening to me way earlier than this, but for whatever reason, they decided, oh, Dave don't know what he's talking about, ignore him. Right? But now these things are happening so quickly. The microaggressions have become macroaggressions so quickly. And now we have the same white players who manipulated Memphis's HOH week to make David deal with racism. They kept they kept David over Nicole A because they always knew they could weaponize David. Here we were thinking they would weaponize him against Memphis. And instead, they're weaponizing this goof-ass motherfucker against all the other black players. More specifically, the black women. And in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break down how they are doing this. And only the way I can. Because nobody else truly understands the game and understands the racial dynamic like I do. This is truly my only lane. This is truly the lane where other people like to jump into, but they can't stay in this lane for too long because it's not in their wheelhouse. They're not well read. They haven't researched enough about black history. They don't even know enough about this brother, let alone what RBG means. Okay? So when I say what I'm going to say in this rant, understand it is coming from a very educated spot, a very educated place. It's not coming from an entirely emotional state. But I will have some emotions when I break down why these white folks in this game are so emotionless towards black people. And I've already broken down how they've gone out of their way to show us we are below the autistic spectrum. So let's continue from that talking point, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Tyler plans to nominate Jaysar. Present day, they're already nominated because it's Saturday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly why I said this week would be boring with Tyler as HOH. With Jaysar as targets, the season at this point is a bigger letdown than the Eagles after they traded for Nnamdi Asomugha. Now, that's a sports reference for you. Now, Tyler was the same guy mad at Memphis for playing an old school game that's personal. But Tyler signed up to play Rat Queen Cole's personal game. Also, big alliances existed in the previous old school era. But you know what existed more? Players having balls to do what was best for their own game. Yeah, Tyler doesn't have the balls to do anything but play it safe. And that's because he's been privileged enough to always have two pregame alliances for each of the 2 seasons he has played. So we've got a lot of people saying Tyler is too good of a player not to nominate Jaysar, and don't say he's just a follower because he's doing the best move for his game, when at the end of the day, these same people always omit the fact that he knew KC and KC knew Angela before BB20. So he had the leg up on that competition in the all-newbie season, which was more unfair. Then in the all-star season where you expect pregame alliances, Tyler is somehow perfectly in good with Cody and all these other people as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Cody is plugged like a drug dealer out here. He's plugged. And what did he do to earn this level of plugging? Nothing. He did nothing to earn it, especially his first season. Okay? So I must drive that point home. Okay? Tyler doesn't have the balls to do anything but play it safe. And since he went off on Memphis, he feels this is the only way to be higher up the trust list than Memphis. But while Tyler is doing that to please Cody and Dani made another Final Four deal behind Tyler's back with Ian and Nicole F. It's called the Prime Four Alliance, ladies and gentlemen. So clearly Dani and Nicole are showing it doesn't matter if you do what they want with HOH or not, because they still find ways to work behind your back. So remember the excuse of, oh, Memphis locks his HOH door. Oh, Memphis is too serious. He's too aggressive. So we're going to do things behind his back. Remember all that excuses, all those alibis they created? Well, you got a guy like Tyler doing everything y'all want, kissing your ass, holding your nuts up while he wipes underneath. All the good shit y'all want. He's changing your diaper, coach. And y'all still made a Final Four deal, didn't include him in it. So it goes to show y'all are full of shit. That's just the truth. And at the end of the day, if any heterosexual man, more specifically heterosexual white man, wins power and his name isn't Cody, y'all figure out ways to fuck him over at some point or another. But here we have Tyler winning an HOH he never needed over Ian, just for Ian to get upgraded to first class while Tyler's dumbass is still in coach. This proves what I've always said about Ian was true. He's playing like a rat, just like the people who kept him safe last week are. Ian already snitched on Janelle to everyone in his alliance. So not only Tyler is doing this, so not only is Tyler doing Nicole's dirty work, Ian also is. This alone gives Nicole F a spot in my top 5 power rankings, because these players are so damn stupid. And what's worse is, Ian uses the autistic spectrum to generate sympathy in people for strategy, but ever since Jaysar admitted to being on the same spectrum, Ian has done nothing to show solidarity with his struggle. You see that, ladies and gentlemen? Proving to me, Ian doesn't give a fuck about anyone else except the people who can provide him with protection. He's willing to let someone else on the spectrum get bullied and ostracized as long as it isn't him. So why should we give a fuck about the sympathy he think he's owed for being on the spectrum? See, that's why I did what I did the way I did it in the last rant y'all saw publicly last week. It's because at the end of the day, I knew I was the only person who could be respectful enough to show you all the dichotomy between autism and being black in America. And I did it flawlessly, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone else tries to create that type of comparison, they get kicked off YouTube. They get kicked off social media. I did it in a way that was so clever, even the people who could have been pissed weren't really pissed, because they knew the stuff I did was so clever. Now let's continue. It seems like he can handle himself just fine, but nobody will let him hold his own nuts. But everyone makes Jaysar hold his own nuts, further showing the Islamophobia here. Autism doesn't exist if you're Muslim to this house. Matter of fact, autism is only sympathetic if you're white based off what we've seen. Exposed. Now, Friday around 5 p.m. on feeds, this is when I started to get triggered, ladies and gentlemen. Now that Dani and Nicole know this week is going their way, they're getting more arrogant. Now they think they can play matchmaker and manufacture a fake showmance involving Davon and David. As if these two white women somehow know what makes two black people compatible. How do you spend 0% of your time in black culture, then all of a sudden you think you're an expert on us? Ladies and gentlemen, I tried to tell y'all about these two. And Christmas ain't that far off. The apple don't fall far from the tree when you talk about Christmas now. She allowed blackface. So we're understanding why these three get along, all right? That by itself I find to be disrespectful, especially since Nicole just assumes her being with Vic is proof Day and David could work. By them not mentioning Swaley before Vic and Nicole, I realize Nicole views Vic as a white man because she doesn't see how truly rare interracial relationships are, especially on Big Brother. Sure, we had April and Ollie from BB10, Danielle and Shane from BB0TT, and of course the Zakiya and Paulie connection from BB18. But these things are so rare and so far and few between that oftentimes the pursuit of them can backfire, such as Amber and Caleb. I'm saying this to say this. Nicole and Dani are trying to split Day from Bay by pushing her into a Fauxmance. But ask yourself, how does it benefit their games to incentivize black players jumping on code? I'll tell you how. Here's the con game, okay? Here's the trick bag. Listen to this. Because this is a lose-lose situation for Day based on this week's politics. Day is already in Tyler's crosshairs game-wise for almost forcing a late flip to knock out David. With Tyler as HOH, she can't afford to piss off Nicole or Dani. That reason being Nicole and Dani are controlling Tyler by making him take a shot at Jaysar. Okay? Any competent player should recognize Tyler isn't really behind this week. These two white women got the heart to come up to Day, not for an alliance, like the Prime 4 one they just created. Instead, they want a fake black showmance. And see, Day deserves some credit for this. And see, Day deserves some blame for this constantly reminding people about her goals of acting. See, by Day constantly telling people that she's an aspiring actress, she's telling production and she's telling other players with more power she can be manipulated. Because we can convince her to just prove to Hollywood this is all acting to you. This is your audition tape. Who cares about the 500 grand, Day? You want to be an actress. You'll make that one day. Let us dominate you in this All-Star season and completely embarrass you. You'll be rewarded down the line. Understand the microaggressions here. And that's exactly what Nicole ends up saying to her later. The 500,000 means nothing compared to love. Even though your ugly ass wouldn't have love if it wasn't for the 500K, because Victor was curving your dumb ass for Natalie when y'all all was broke. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, we're going to get to that. Don't worry. Ooh, this going to be a classic. My stones are shining. I know this going to be a classic rant. But yeah, so Day does deserve some blame for constantly reminding people about her goals of acting. With David doing the same exact thing, that's very key to remind people of. Nicole and Dani are being more disrespectful because they want them to fake love for television. Think about that, y'all. And see, you have to assume you have the game all figured out. You have the game, in a sense, already in control and won to even waste some time trying to push others to do a showmance, right? Think about it. If anyone was in trouble in this game, they wouldn't be spending any of their time trying to convince people to be in a showmance with each other. But see, this is what bored white folks do when they want to keep fucking with black people, right? They don't know when to let up. See, they've already made pregame alliances that excluded black people. They've already done strategy that has been racist towards black people. And now they're pushing for a fake showmance, which does nothing but insult the intelligence of black people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all just a distraction they're trying to create to take our minds off the fact that they're playing an anti-black all-star season. That's what it's all about. And I'd also argue David was only brought on this season to serve this type of a purpose. Ask yourself, why was he chosen over Marvin Latimer? Why was he chosen over Parker? Probably because those brothers are older and probably taken, are probably not Davon's types. They looked for someone around Davon's age group because they wanted to force Davon down this route because production knew pregame Davon had a lot of connections and she could arguably be the first black winner. So this is further proof pregame, even production was making deals to try to limit the black player's success. Now let's keep it going. See, listen, that's all I got to say. Now think about it long and hard. Why now, after Day got mad at David, are they pushing this as Jaysar is stepping out of the door? Because they want to distract Day from them making Bay guilty by associating with Janelle. Even if Bay stays away from Janelle all week, these folks will remember how hard she rooted for Janelle during that HOH comp. If you don't remember, go back to Thursday night's episode, ladies and gentlemen, and watch it. During the HOH comp, Bay was there front row and center, shouting super hard, supporting Janelle, trying to get Janelle to win that HOH, okay? For the same, and see, that's the thing. She was shouting support for the same women now everyone is alienating and treating like shit. So, understand, The reason why everyone has to blow things out of proportion to ruin Bayleigh's social game is because Bayleigh's social game is the best aspect of her game. You can't say she's being super strategic like Davon and doing dumb shit like Davon because Bayleigh ain't into that type of shit. Instead, Bayleigh just talks about regular life stuff and she makes it hard for people to catch her in a trap and to use that against her and force her into being a target. And later on in this rant, we're going to explain how Bay became some target over a conversation that was nonsensical, but the conversation leading to what it led to just further proves how racist these white women are playing this season. So let's continue. Also, Dani doesn't like black showmances because every chance she gets, she makes it a point of emphasis to not shit, but to sit on the Swaley pillow or do some weird shit with it. So her acting like she wants Day to act like she likes David is all coming from a dark, bigoted place, y'all. It's like someone told me on Twitter, she's not that different from her dad. You know, Dani has clowned Davon behind Davon's back just because Davon's religious. Isn't that the same thing Evil Dick did towards Jamaica? So understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is a girl who was raised by a man who, in his own ways, had confirmation biases, and he had his own predetermined racist ways. She tells the entire world she hates him, but she seems to do everything he did involuntarily. You know, if you hate someone so much, you're not going to follow in their footsteps so often. You're going to actually do the opposite. So this tells me her relationship with her dad must not be that estranged, because at the end of the day, she looks like Kobe trying to copy Michael Jordan's jump shot. That's what it looks like to me. But I got people telling me she hates Jordan. Get the fuck out of here. Now, what makes this worse is, while they're doing this to Davon, Ian is spying on Janelle and Jaysar in the bedroom, acting like he needs to lay down. But as soon as Jaysar leaves that area and goes across the room to his bed, Ian wants to stay up now. So it's clear Ian was sent by Nicole and them to be their eyes and ears this week in the bedroom. Since they don't trust Bayleigh, they have to put this mission up to Ian, who has already ratted on Janelle to them this week. And I'd argue him ratting to them is what got him in the Prime 4 alliance. In this season, the only way to be included in alliances is to prove to people you're willing to be their bitch. That's the only way. And for whatever reason, to some people, this is the new era of gameplay we like. That old school stuff was played out and lame. When in reality, y'all play more racist than the old school played, because y'all act high and mighty while you do it, and you know you're being racist while you do it, okay? Like, let's just keep it a bean. So Ian, the guy on the spectrum with Jaysar, was sent like a damn assassin to eavesdrop on season 6 in the bedroom. I told y'all about this dude, Ian. I knew he would run to the first group of people that made him feel cool. It's a shame that a man with all his accolades and wealth still depends on the affirmation of others. Ian is doing Jaysar like he did Mike Boogie. But I'd argue this time it's a little more heartless because Ian swears everyone should pity him for autism, yet he has no pity for someone else with it. This shows illnesses or disabilities should never be part of the game because it can reveal someone's true nature and ruin their reputation forever. This entire season is the Dan should have won Olympics, if you ask me. And see, keep in mind, Dani and Nicole both put David through a traumatic moment. Then they expected Day to keep him. Day wanted the flip, but they flipped her back to evicting the Coracle. They should know with Tyler being HOH that David knows that Day tried to blindside him. So they also should know David would never want to be in a showmance with Day. But he's the most likely one they could get to do this as his Hollywood audition tape. If this were to work, it would be done solely to embarrass Davon later in the game. And this would be done to make sure David makes it further. Understand, they're trying to drag David to the end. He's their Victoria. He's becoming that majority alliance's Victoria at this point. This showmance's purpose is just so Dani and Nicole can have David to themselves over Enzo having him. They think being preemptive guarantees David will be open to the idea of a showmance, but they don't know David has already agreed to an alliance in principle with Enzo, Tyler, and Cody. So Dani and Nicole are fighting a losing battle here, technically. But I'm pointing this out to further show y'all the psychological makeup of these two white women. They play with Shadow Realm strategies. Hashtag that shit. I was right to call Dani the breaker of games because she tries to break the player and their game at the same time. So understand, Dani doesn't like black showmances because she can't stand the most successful one in Swaley until this day. Shout outs to Deontay Wilder. This is the only real showmances and only real black showmance in 22 years of Big Brother US. For her to not appreciate the past and also not like Rachel and Brendan, it makes sense why this game being the way it is stems back to Janelle's friendship with Rachel Riley. Rachel clearly despises Dani from BB13, but she adores Bay and Janelle. Nicole clearly was cool with Dani before the game because she always hated Rachel since The Amazing Race. This is also why Alyssa Riley has chimed in on this season being trash and wishing she could go in there to clear her family's name. So the cattiness is at an all-time high, and on top of that, Christmas was kept safe with the safety suite by Enzo. So Enzo was smart to do a move for her to get closer to him. Because technically, she's the one woman he has the least amount of a working relationship with game-wise on his side of the house. And that decision also allows Tyler to work with Christmas up close, because whoever is saved under the premise they could have been targeted by the current HOH, meaning people will think Christmas and Tyler aren't close because Enzo saved Christmas this week. And that creates extra confusion in figuring out the numbers for the other side of the game. So Enzo is playing amazing here. In my opinion, he's still playing a winner's game while everyone else is playing catty and stupid. He used the safety suite correctly. Christmas didn't. But it does seem like that move earned her a solid Final Five spot if she stays playing this way. And with her making a deal with Tyler this week, in theory, she could also become his KC. Now, if you all don't know this, Tyler and Christmas made a deal with each other. It's supposed to be some sort of a final two deal called the Carolinas, I've been told. And I think this was a wise deal for Tyler to make. I've been telling people if Josh was on this season, Tyler would have had Christmas and Josh in his pocket over David. But the fact that David was added to the cast and Christmas is still here, he could just pretty much substitute Josh for David, and he can try to work with Christmas. And since him and Christmas are involved in a lot of alliances together, this won't cause any real suspicions from the Dani and Nicoles of the world. So it does kind of give Tyler a little bit more good positioning, a little bit more pivoting prowess for future weeks. I really don't have anything bad to say about Tyler's game. I just wish a player of his reputation would play better. And what I mean by play better is I don't like seeing players coast during a season where everyone is a threat. I don't like that because that tells me the pregame alliance is so strong. What are we watching the season for? Let's just fast forward this shit. Let's just do this Big Brother celebrity style, do it in 3.5 weeks. Let's get this over with, And if Day wasn't already supposed to be wary of Tyler after trying to get out David last week, Day may have also ruined her game some more because everyone is saying she asked them to pick her to be their safety +1. Of course, Tyler is pissed off about this. He even spoke to Enzo about it. Enzo allegedly told Day it was between her and Christmas who he would use it on. Now, in Day's mind, Enzo should be more loyal to her because he made the Connect 4 deal before he was technically in an alliance with Christmas. So Day is right to expect him to pick her over Christmas for safety. But now this makes a little bit more sense why Dani and Nicole are trying to pacify Day's paranoia by having her focus on acting out a fake showmance. So all of this is starting to add up because Day asked tons of people in the house to make her their +1 if they won safety suite. I think Dani and Nicole decided we're going to distract her with this bullshit because if Day keeps asking around as to why Christmas was chosen over her, she'll start to figure out she's on the bottom of our side. So instead of her figuring out she's on the bottom of their side, they would rather distract her with some bullshit. Like, hey, you see that guy over there? He's black. Aren't you into black guys? Weren't you the one who was going to vote for him no matter what just because he was black? Now we're going to use that against you. So now, aren't you attracted to him? What's wrong with him? Now it's like you got to bash the black man to justify who you're into. And see, that's the thing. Everything Day says is going to be used against her. Okay? So she's better off shutting the fuck up. She's better off just shutting the fuck up. And see, this is why I have a problem with all of this, because Keisha leaving, then Nicole A leaving, that put everything down the path to where Every white woman is going to be out of this game after this week, besides their side of white women, if Janelle leaves this week. Do y'all realize that? That means it will be only 3 white women and 2 black women left in the game and just men after that. They have to manipulate all of the black women to do what they want because eventually they're going to drop the bomb that a men's alliance exists and they're going to want Bay and Day to help do their bidding and they're going to want David to work with them to get that done. And the reason why they're pushing Davon to be in a fake showmance with David is because they think if they can make David fall in love with Davon, now Davon brings David over. He flips away from Tyler. He becomes an extra number along with Ian to go with the 3 white women. And now all of a sudden, they have 7 people to tackle them in. So that's the long con strategy to this. But it's still racist strategy because you're relying on racial dynamics to pull it off. See, so the same people who would love to just dismiss me as a race baiter, my explanation skills are top tier. And this is once again another irrefutable rant. So Enzo tells Tyler that Davon is scaring him with her paranoia. Tyler is mad because he believes her asking for safety in public outs the Slick Six Alliance. But here's the thing though, guys. Christmas isn't in Slick Six. It's Bay, Day, Dani, Enzo, Tyler, and Cody, right? So Enzo picking Christmas here over Day should tell Day Slick Six is a hoax as well. Exposed. I told y'all that was another fake alliance, didn't I? Another fake alliance to make sure if Bay or Day won HOH, they were safe. That's all it was meant to do. Then they make another Final Four that don't even include Tyler, Bay, or Day in it, and Tyler's dumbass is doing exactly what they want. But you old school players don't know how to play, bro. Man, if you don't jump your bitch ass on a surfboard. Look, I get the move from Enzo's perspective, but I also get the outrage from Davon's perspective. Enzo is in 3 alliances with Davon, technically. He's in no more than 1 with Christmas, concrete. If I use my calculator here, and I switch it to trigonometry settings, coach, it tells me Day did nothing wrong here. But because she wasn't down for production rewarding Christmas for doing their bidding a week ago with more safety, Enzo is scared of what Day could do to flip the game. It's very important I break down these subtle nuances in plays because they are the difference in my content versus others' content. I give you game perspective without actually being in the house. That's what makes me different. These other people, they don't care about the game enough to put themselves in the shoes of the players. That's the truth. And the most ironic part about all this is Enzo is complaining about Davon with a Bayon shirt on. I thought that was funny to mention. Now, so Tyler, a.k.a. Mr. Anti-Black, tells Enzo to tell Day the excuse of, I didn't want to sell out the alliance. But if that's the case, why was it okay for Christmas to sell herself out by saving Ian a week ago when everyone knows she's with Nicole? So these white players basically created a rule on the fly that giving black players safety is selling out the alliance, but giving white players safety isn't? More proof of how racist this game is. See, woo! I'm ethering people, bro. I'm ethering them. Now, let's just keep hitting them with body shots. Enzo, of all people, should have hated Christmas saving Ian. So him saving her back is more than just a game move. It's a codified move. It's to essentially tell everyone left here that the 4 black people gotta go after Jaysar. These people think Day is just jealous of people. Oh, my fault. These people think Day is just jealous of Christmas because of their baggage from weeks ago. And since that baggage is linked to Janelle, it's like they don't want Day being safe and possibly trying to force another flip this week. This was also them trying to humble Davon, and show her other people can just get handed safety, but she can't. And they are victim blaming her by saying helping her hurts their game. So if she keeps pushing for it, they can flip and say she doesn't care about their games when they clearly just disregarded an alliance just made that includes her in it, just to use the excuse they hold it at too high of a regard to prove to her she can trust them. Did you follow that? It doesn't make sense. Let me say that one more time to prove to y'all how full of shit this excuse is. All right, let me say it one more time. They are victim blaming Davon by saying helping her hurts their game. So if she keeps pushing for safety, they can flip on her and say Davon doesn't care about their games when they clearly just disregarded an alliance they just made that includes Day in it, just to use the excuse they hold it at too high of a regard to prove to her that Day can trust them. See, when you break it down to this science, this is why CBS Viacom would never put someone like me on their show. They don't want a black dude like me that is this smart. It would change the way that it would change the way they cast black men forever if they put me on their show. That's why they never will. But if they put a David on the show, a total joke, you could get anyone to play that role. You can get any Stepin Fetchit to do that goofball coon ass shit. Let's just talk about it here. Okay? And that's why he's on this season. And that's why someone like me, they'll say, oh, well, we just didn't like your audition tape. So what you want in the audition tape? You want us frying chicken? You want us playing basketball? What you want us to do in our audition tape? You want us to do something stereotypical, production? Because you're not looking at these audition tapes based off merit. You're not looking at them based off clout. You're not looking at them based off who understands the game. You're not looking at this based off who has the highest percentage chance to give you a good season. It simply is who can fulfill this role of being a damn court jester. Oh, they can fulfill the black role. If Davon doesn't use this as her Negro wake-up call, I'm no longer rooting for her this season. Yeah, I said it. I'm tired of this bullshit. Her willingness to constantly forgive white players for mistreating her deliberately pisses me off because she got so mad at David for just saying relax a week ago. And relax is nothing on the scale compared to people trying to split her from Bayleigh, getting her to hate Janelle, getting her in a fake showmance, and choosing to keep someone out of their alliance safe over her. Okay, let's keep it real. Those 4 things I just named is nothing compared to a black man saying relax. Even if I don't fuck with David, let's be real, Day. Let's be real. Okay? All Day needs to do is win HOH and throw up Nicole F next to Christmas. Ironically, those are the same noms I wanted from Janelle. If Day wasn't so dumb, she'd realize the enemy of her true enemy is her friend. But now that Tyler is HOH, Day is paranoid, but she also knows her pregame connections is running this week over Bayleigh's. And as long as Day feels this way, she will continue to hurt Bayleigh's game. Everything Day just did wrong with Enzo indirectly hurts Bayleigh, but Day might not even be aware it hurts her game. So she may not be aware of it's hurting Bayleigh's game either. So while Bay has to prove herself loyal to Tyler this week by abandoning Janelle to back up Tyler's HOH decisions, severing her pivoting options for future weeks, Day has to also prove herself loyal to the house by not rightfully being mad about Enzo's decision to keep Christmas safe over her, despite the fact she's in more alliances with Enzo than Christmas is. So, look, black players, we can't buy safety, even if it's our turn to get it. You know, didn't I bring up how during Challenge 35, how Corey Wharton, he clearly made a deal with all these other white women, how they would make sure he would go in to get his Red Skull next. All of a sudden, Johnny Banana says, no, I'm next. Everyone said, oh, well, Corey, you gotta wait. That's what happens on Big Brother too, y'all. And this is what's happening to Davon versus Christmas. It's the same thing. And they clearly picked Christmas over Davon because they knew it would piss off Davon. They are trying to bring out the stereotypical black woman out of this sister. And to be fair, the sister has played terribly up until this point to where they think they can drag it out of her based off how erratic she's been so far. So at the end of the day, I can't even be all the way mad at them for using this strategy because they know it can work because Davon played bad. That doesn't let them off the hook, and that isn't me blaming the victim here all the way either. That's me calling shit down the middle, because I'm the realest motherfucker when it comes to breaking down the strategy. Now, both are forced into inner conflicts that are sure to hurt their games. Talking about Bay and Day, by the way. Both are forced into inner conflicts that are sure to hurt their games just enough to where they are targeted after Jaysar. And with David being pulled in a men's alliance direction, Ian being loyal to 3 white women, and Kevin being by himself, but telling us he trusts Danny, Enzo, and Cody the most, Bayleigh have no one to vent to or work with after Jaysar leaves, screwing them over. Everyone is set up to snake Bay and Day out as soon as Jaysar is gone. And you can tell how rigged everything is against Bay and Day based on how Nicole blew things completely out of proportion when Bay mentioned how she needed an experiment with other men before finding Victor. Nicole, being the victim she always tends to be with the white girl crying technique, it's to the point now where people know what that stands for. They just show the acronym. Shout outs to Mighty Mod Selena, the queen of Mighty Mods, Miss Selena. She even said, have you seen Nicole's WGCT? Have you seen her WGCT? That shit sound like a radio station, coach. And I was like, yep, I already know what you're talking about. I'm finna discuss it. Don't worry. Thanos is here, bro. The hater misses nothing, as Star would say. Nicole, being the victim, somehow uses this as proof of Bayleigh being disrespectful. But what Bay said was the truth. Nicole's first 2 seasons had showmances in them because she hates being alone. Ian now is like her pseudo-showmance because she operates better when she is perceived to be protected by a man. She was with BB16 Hayden and BB18 Corey. She gave community sugar walls out to white men exclusively until Victor got desperate and hit her line for some of that 500 grand. Let's keep it a bean. Then she turned that boy into a white man. Let's keep it a bean. All right? That's just what it is. Okay? These are facts, not opinions. So there was no surprise that Nicole would use Tyler's HOH week to cause drama with Bayleigh, because these white women are probably threatened they can't get closer to Tyler without vilifying Bayleigh. Also, don't forget about Nicole and Dani hours prior trying to convince Davon to do a showmance with David, despite their hate for Swaley. If they already know Day is jealous of Bay's relationship with Janelle, these 2 white women may also think Day could be jealous of Swaley too. So them offering Davon a black showmance is literally them offering Day the chance to steal Bayleigh's Infinity Stone. You see how they divide and conquer with us? Pay attention. So make no mistake about it, Nicole breaking down over this was calculated, and it's all designed to create separation between Bayleigh and Davon and to make Bayleigh into a target socially. All right? Now, it's funny. Nicole gets defensive about anyone mentioning her relationship with Vic because she knows she didn't get him before she won that money, but she only won that money because of feminism. Isn't it ironic how the only feminist Big Brother champion happens to be playing the most catty anti-female game of the season? Isn't it also ironic that both Dani and Nicole have non-white boyfriends, but they seem to only trust white men on Allstars? See? People find a way. Cats always land back on their feet now, don't they? I knew this season was rigged the moment Davon believed Bayleigh and Janelle had a pregame deal. But she also thought it was unbelievable Nicole and Dani had a pregame deal when she heard that. Nicole and Dani are together 24/7, and it's like people are scared to even point it out. Day hasn't played any good since she started listening more to Dani. So Bay mentions this to Tyler before Nicole and Dani can clear her name. Before Nicole and Dani can to clear her name. My apologies. Not only does Bayleigh bring up Nicole's paranoia, she brings up how Nicole considers all her exes before Victor frogs that she had to kiss before meeting her prince. Now, I could easily get into how this is its own racist stereotype because the Princess and the Frog was clearly a black woman with a frog. Okay? Now all of a sudden you have a white woman playing a anti-black racial game, now trying to consider herself the Princess and the Frog. So that's culturally appropriating itself on its own. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Nicole and Vic weren't even romantic during their season, but she's trying to make it seem like, oh, it took us a year, but I met him there, so technically we fell in love there. No, that's not what happened. Shut the fuck up. Okay? He didn't pursue her until after she won the game. So Nicole is trying to change the narrative because she knows how it looks. Now, let's be honest here. If Swaggy would have waited until Bayleigh was crowned the winner of BB20 to propose to her, let's be real. This fan base, with how racially charged they are, with how bigoted they are, they would have immediately said, Swaggy, he proposing for the money. Right? But when it's a white girl getting a guy way out of her level, okay, way out of her league, everyone just wants to label it some Disney Channel shit, some Meghan Markle shit, right? Everyone just wants to label it some rag to riches shit, when at the end of the day, without that money, this doesn't happen. Whereas Swaggy got it out the mud, proposed to Bayleigh before either one of them were as popping as they were. So at the end of the day, man, we need to put a little bit more respect on Swaggy's name. But once again, these white women don't like Swaggy, so why would they put any respect on his name? This is why they're not that excited to talk to Bayleigh about what her and her husband have been up to. You notice that? They'd rather almost humble brag to Davon about what it's like to be in a relationship, but when it's time to be around Bayleigh, someone in a more poppin' relationship that they can't play big bank, take little bank with, because let's be real, Bay and Chris might have more money than Nicole and Victor. If Victor is a police officer, he probably ain't got much money. All right, let's just keep it real. So the jealousy isn't just on Janelle. The jealousy is stemming to the black women. But more specifically, the jealousy is targeted at Bayleigh. And Davon believes, because she knew these women before this season, she believes she still has a spot. That she still has a spot in their tribe, right? Like Davon is still trying to try out and prove herself to them. In a lot of ways, Davon is following them around like David is following Tyler around. But David at least has an excuse, right? Like what Davon is doing is just nonsensical. But yeah, so at the end of the day, then Bayleigh mentions how Dani and Nicole keep trying to push Davon into a showmance so she can have what they call a good distraction. But why do these white women want black people so distracted? Yeah, because they want us focused on another black showman so we don't pay close attention to the racist strategy. Okay? Look, Hit Dog's gonna holler, alright? And if the game you was playing was so magnificent, if you was pulling off a true masterclass that wasn't rigged, if you weren't playing anti-black, you wouldn't have the guilt in your psyche to all of a sudden I want to see black love up close. Nah, you're trying to do a course correction because you know last week you exposed yourself. That's what's going on here, okay? But for the unintelligent, they'll buy that bullshit. They'll buy that bullshit. But if you are a subscriber to this channel, something tells me you weren't buying that bullshit before you even clicked on the video. So I salute you. So understand, Nicole and Dani are only so full of themselves because they got lucky. But they are using their luck to overstep their boundaries here with Davon. And they are exploiting this relationship to the point where it's uncomfortable. I can tell production wants Day to do this Fauxmance, and they are sending Nicole and Dani out to do the dirty work because production also would love black people distracted while watching this season. So when Nicole tells Day she can find love in this house just because she did, Bayleigh had to remind Nicole it took her a few tries first. I appreciated that, Bay. Have your sister's back. Even if your sister don't have your back enough, have her back anyway. I rock with that shit. So because Bayleigh reminded her that Vic curved her ugly ass for Natalie in BB18, Nicole started crying and making victim noises. But did you notice how Memphis told Nicole this same season she's an expert showmancer? Okay? This happened a week or two ago. Nicole didn't cry about that. But then when Bayleigh says it took her a few tries to find the man of her dreams, all of a sudden it's so much worse. This shows the white girl crying technique is still an exclusive strategy to make black people into targets, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, it would just be called the girl crying technique. Otherwise, any woman could cry the same way and get the same impact, get the same type of reaction from other players. But the truth is, people are inherently biased to believe a white girl crying is somehow in more danger and is more vulnerable than a black girl crying. And what does this go back to? The stereotype of a black man can defend himself. A black woman can defend herself. Okay? The stereotype is almost so dangerous, it's like they treat our black women like honorary men. Let's talk about it right now. I got your back, sisters. I got your back. Don't even worry. Okay? You know Thanos is here. All right, at any moment I'll snap this bitch, this whole room get dark. Shout outs to Bernie Mac, R.I.P. You feel it, dig me? All right? See, these people think they slick out here. So the fact that she didn't get that pissed off by Memphis, even though her and Dani claimed Memphis was so soft and so domineering and so aggressive and all that other stuff, they don't use the microaggressions against him because he ain't a black man doing it. You see that? Do you see that, y'all? But then all of a sudden, Bayleigh says something, and she didn't see BB-18, but she still said something that was very accurate nevertheless, and this still gets spun out to be, Bayleigh said something so mean to me. Oh. And ask yourself this question, okay? If Bayleigh wasn't in a showmance that is by far more popular than Nicole and Victor's, Nicole probably would have said some slick shit back. But when she's in the presence of someone she can't play big bank, take little bank with, or in the presence of someone she can't act like, oh, you don't have anyone? Keep in mind, Nicole probably her entire life was the type of girl that didn't have anyone. So I grew up with people like this. Some people have to be in a relationship all the time to feel like they are completed, right? And then you got people like me, more so mercenaries, who are the same person, single or taken. Nicole is the type of person who has to always be taken in order to be herself, okay? Because she gets in her own head, she overthinks things out, and then before you know it, she's a train wreck. But when she has a man, Nicole can reach her potential because she has nothing to lose in any social environment. I'm saying all this to say this. Bayleigh never needed a man to be a social butterfly. Da'Vonne never needed a man to be a social butterfly. Janelle never needed a man to be a social butterfly. And what do these three women have in common? Nicole F. can't stand them. Now do you see why she hates them? Because they are everything she could never be without a man. So now do you see why it's so important for her to push Da'Vonne to find a man? Because she wants Da'Vonne reliant on her. See, oh, this is a classic rant. Oh, man. And there's a whole nother side to this as well, ladies and gentlemen. If Bayleigh knows about Rachel Riley's beef with Nicole and Dani, she also knows these two bitches are mean girls who hate on other couples. So them trying to set a couple up is them clearly making a mockery of Da'Vonne's love life. Bay had Da'Vonne's back and she's being called mean for it. But when is Day going to stand up for herself and dead this dumbass shit so it stops getting brought up? This is on Day for not G-checking these chicks a long time ago. Now this is even hurting Bayleigh's game, y'all. And it's ticking me the fuck off. It's wild to me how all these white women can create pregame alliances that exclude black women, then they try to distract the black women further by making it seem like they want them closer to the black men, acting like the money isn't worth more than love. But Nicole would have no love without the money. Also, they purposefully waited until they had control of the black men before pushing for this showmance. So this is just another means for them to spy on Bay and Day while also keeping them far removed from any pertinent game talk. Oh, man. Listen. And this all hides the real elephant in the room here. How can someone who spends 0% of their time around black people or in black culture understand black love? How can women who hate on black love know what to look for to set up two black people? How can women interracially dating even compare their situation to a black experience? If nobody pushed or forced them into having the showmances they had, who are they to do this to Da'Vonne now? See, no matter how you look at this all comes from a position of privilege, of entitlement, and comfort. If they weren't comfortable in this game, they wouldn't be doing this shit. So that shows you how malicious it is to begin with. This tells me production has always wanted to force a showmance out of this season. And since everyone else is taken, it's clear to me they chose David not only to set black men back as players, not only to be a damn joke, but they also are trying to use him to help their public relations. They think a black showmance on an all-star season will prove the show isn't systemically racist. But it is. But it was racist when Swaley played, and they had way more incentive to help them then, but they didn't. I'm talking about production. They had way more incentive to make sure Swaley both made jury wouldn't let it happen. In fact, they backdoored Swaggy and said, fuck all that shit. Then they found out, oh, these two are our cash cows. We got to rely on them to have a successful Big Brother All-Stars. And this is why I said Bayleigh should have said, fuck y'all, and not even played this season. Because I knew something like this would probably happen to her. You have nothing to gain, everything to lose. So why the hell would we expect David and Da'Vonne to make it far when both are playing worse this season than Swaley played on BB20? How many times do I have to see Day tell these women she ain't feeling this dude before they shut the hell up? If she already said her type is Champagne Tone from Big Brother Canada, shout outs to the homie Ant, you feel it, dig me? Why are they still pushing David? This would be like Nicole saying her type is Victor, but Zakiya from BB18 forces her into a showmance with Asian James. You can't force someone to like someone. But now y'all see why I call Tyler and Angela a fake showmance in BB20. They also, at that time, were a manufactured couple for television after Bayleigh got eliminated. Production does this often, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So even though they might be a real couple now, all I'm saying is, during that season, they weren't real. They didn't have none of that romantic spark, bro. It was literally a relationship of convenience, a relationship of necessity, right? It was never what it was meant to be, okay? But see, after Angela got rid of Bayleigh and basically exerted her revenge on Tyler's behalf after the fight those two had with each other, Tyler had no choice but to have feelings for her because she went to bat for him. And his bitch ass wasn't going to go to bat for himself. But that's neither here nor there. Now, remember when they had Ian do a date with Ashley and BB14? This is the same concept. They can't go a season without a showmance, or else they lose a certain percentage of their audience that wants that gimmick. Also, keep in mind, black people are starting to stop watching this season because it's getting worse. So they think we're dumb enough to call the season good if we get a fake black couple out of it. All of this shit tells me this season is only going to get worse. And I'm usually always right when I say something like that. Otherwise, I'm optimistic. Nicole is out here telling Bay and Day that David gravitates towards Davon because he likes messing with her. What the fuck is she talking about? But on feeds, dude is so awkward around her that it is far from the truth. Nicole is out here telling Day not to run away. What does that even fucking mean? And see, this is why I have to say what I need to say now. David is 30 fucking years old. He's aspiring to be an actor in Hollywood. If he needs 2 white women to play wingman to help him pull a black woman, David, you got more problems than just making it to Hollywood, bro. First off, you should have enough pride to tell these women, hey, I'll do it myself. You ain't got to do shit for me. But the thing is, these women even think you're a joke because not only do they think your gameplay needs their help, they think your mouthpiece needs their help. And how the hell do these white women know the type of mouthpiece Davon would need to be down with that demonstration? All of this shit is based off of assumptions. All this shit is based off of racial biases. All this shit is based off bigotry. Okay? It is important for me to constantly drive this notion home. This story arc is super racist to anyone who isn't one. They are only forcing them together because both are black and single. If David or Day was white, I doubt either Nicole or Dani would push this hard. Also, David has no story because he did nothing his first season. And if the last thing we saw is Davon not feeling him in the edit on Thursday, it makes no sense she would have a crush on him 3 days later. So, production, what are y'all even trying to do? Black women have female coworkers just like Nicole and Dani at their jobs. I'm going to have your back, sisters. Let me get at this. The ones who sneak diss y'all all day with a smile on their face, but the minute you match that energy, they cry about it. That's Nicole F. These white women use the power structure to their advantage and abuse the authority that they know reinforces their white privilege. So understand, these women know Day doesn't like David. They also know they would never give him a chance themselves if they were single, but they are pushing Davon's buttons on purpose to get her to blow up down the line, while acting like they sincerely just want her to be happy. So understand how coincidentally ironic that is. If Nicole and Dani really wanted Day happy, they would have included her in their real pregame alliances. If they really wanted her happy, Slick Six would have kept Day safe this week over Christmas. They don't want Davon happy. They want her focused on the wrong shit. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, why is David walking around acting like he's into Davon a couple of days after Tyler told him Day was trying to get him out? A smart game player wouldn't trust Davon at all. A smart player would never be talked into acting like he likes her for game because David doesn't understand the game. So what y'all must understand is David got a visibility spike last week. He wants to be on TV more because last week was addictive for him since he wasn't sent home. So now he's pursuing his Hollywood dreams by acting like he likes Davon on feeds, and production and their minions are hoping Davon starts acting like she likes David to distract us all from the systemically racist flop of a season Allstars has become. And that is also facts. They want us all distracted. They want black fans as dumb as casual fans, where we only root for stuff that justifies a black player not winning. So much so, even Nicole is saying the $500,000 cash prize doesn't matter. I don't know about y'all, but someone with $500,000 in a bank account telling me at the start of the season and the world they would like to pay me back for helping them get paid, like Nicole said about Day in episode 1, remember that? Then all of a sudden, in present day, 2 weeks later, waiting till week 3 of the game to say the $500K doesn't matter is not only a spit in the face of all black people that want to see a black winner, it's also Nicole's way of telling Davon she has no shot to win, so she might as well go get some dick instead. Understand what she's saying subliminally here? Man, listen. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be absolutely disgusting to anyone who is claiming to be an ally. Not only are they assuming the two black people are compatible like they assume two black people are aligned within the game, they are also making it seem like the same prize so many white people have been racist to win all of a sudden isn't worth winning if a black person has ambition. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a dissection. This has been a dissection. Okay? Like straight up. Like there's no way anyone can clap back at me with this. There's no way anyone can reply to this. Situations like this are exactly why I'm needed in this community. Imagine if you trained your whole life to make the NBA just for LeBron to tell you to go find love instead because basketball ain't that lovely. LeBron ain't trading in none of his riches while he says it isn't worth it though. So clearly he is lying to your face, no different than the game show host from Slumdog Millionaire wrote the wrong answer on the mirror. Understand, Nicole and Dani are the game show hosts from Slumdog Millionaire. They act cool with you, but they hate you. They don't want you to win, because then their archetypes in the future have less of a chance to win. They would rather see you in a struggle-fake relationship than single and successful. They would rather control you than see you excel on your journey to achieving full self-control. So make no mistake about it here, y'all. Nicole telling Day not to run away from David was a Freudian slip. Nicole views Day as a slave to her and Dani's strategy. We getting there. Their strategy last week was to save Ian so Memphis went hard on David, so they could recruit David. Now after allowing racist shit and using that to force Bay and Day down this path, they want Day to fall in love with the same bad player they are controlling, and they want to chip away at Bay's social game while they distract Davon. This is clearly working because Day said out loud she is starting to believe Dani more than Bayleigh. So now do y'all see why David is so problematic? He will buck dance for any TV time because he can't make it on TV by playing the game. Even when his homie is HOH, he doesn't know what to do. People forget, David refused to tell Day who he was working with days ago. If he truly liked her, he would have told her then. Also, let's not forget, David was choosing on Crimson Chin. Look now, the Crimson Chin. I'm talking about Catherine Dunn. He was choosing on Shorty Ass over Kimmy Otto last season. Let's keep it real here. And I've already broken down how Cat Dunn and another black woman, who will no longer be allowed on this channel, how both of them work together to keep another black woman off BB22. So, for all we know, the black woman who was kept off BB21 could have been the difference in David being the first boot. She could have been the difference in Kimmy making jury. She could have been the difference in a lot of things that season. But Cat Dunn and her friend decided to keep this black woman off the season because Cat Dunn was mad. She became a Cowboys cheerleader over me. And see, what makes this worse is the fact that a black woman helped Cat Dunn keep a black woman off BB21. If Cat Dunn holds on to that type of hate towards a black woman just for being more deserving of something she earned, here's a tip, black woman who helped Cat Dunn. She probably is racist towards you too. Things that make you say, But that's neither here nor there, ladies and gentlemen. I just brought this up because I mentioned how David was choosing on Cat Dunn over Kimmy last season. So clearly this guy craved white feminine approval then, and that explains why he was so easily worked into acting like he's attracted to Davon now by white women, okay? But now I gotta give another opinion. David, if you were just going to do this, why not act like you liked Davon during week 1? Oh, that's right. You wanted to pass a milestone with your weak ass. Then week 2, you were on the block. So David's excuse, and his fans' excuse, I expect to be similar to what I just said. But black men don't just wake up one day and just like a specific black woman. Especially if we have been seen thirsty for a showmance with white girls in the past. I'm sure this also is a reason why Day refuses to flirt with this guy outside of the obvious things of it being awkward and weird. But this is more proof to me that the players manipulating David didn't really watch his season or how he played because they assume he's pro-black, but his authenticity was in question as much as Amber's from BB16 before this season. So not only do the people acting like they rock with David know nothing about his season, they clearly know nothing about black culture to just assume their opinion holds any weight on our culture. And keep in mind, they did this to Davon after she gave Dani's daughter a shout out on Thursday night, further showing no good deed goes unpunished, ladies and gentlemen. And I clowned her for doing that in my last rant. Become a patron if you want to watch that rant. So They trust Dani as much as Bay because of jealousy created by Dani. They helped Nicole get the man of her dreams by voting for her to win Big Brother, and now both of these women are using racist tactics for a second consecutive week to manipulate black players. And I'm the race baiter. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the ninth Big Brother 22 Allstars Rant, entitled Fauxmance Gate. I am, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, and this is Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. It seems that Janelle and Jaysar are royally screwed. It doesn't really matter who wins veto, because no one will use it on them besides them, and one of them is guaranteed to go home this week. It's that simple. Replacement nominee will either be David or Kevin, it sounds like, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to pick a pawn. It's never going to be Memphis. So one of Janelle and Jaysar are gone. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, that's why the majority of this live feeds update was spent trying to expose the racist tactics being used to ensure Janelle and Jaysar have no friends this week. And that's just the truth. They're creating distractions so people aren't giving Janelle any company, so they can mentally break her, because they would like her to leave over Jaysar first. That's just the truth. These white women want to be the only white women on All Stars, and that's just the truth behind it. So even though they're playing racist, they also are playing a very anti-feminist game, despite the fact one of them won the game by being feminist. So it just goes to show, you die as a hero, you live long enough to become the villain, and it's sad. If I had to rank my power rankings, ladies and gentlemen, I don't really have my list nearby, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd probably say Christmas is 5. I'd put Dani at 4, Nicole F at 3, Tyler at 2, Enzo at 1. If I had to just think off the dome, Nicole F has to be in my top 5. I don't like her tactics, but once again, I'm unbiased. I can recognize good gameplay, but I can also point out how the gameplay is uncalled for. And that's what I do here, ladies and gentlemen. So please comment below, please like, and of course share this video with everyone that you know, and give me some feedback and let me know if you're noticing these things like I notice these things, ladies and gentlemen. I know that my Infinity Stones give me a certain power level that exceeds the average human being. I've been in the hyperbolic time chamber, constructing the right rant to give you all today, but hopefully this one will suffice. Of course, I will be back for a live stream tomorrow night after Sunday night's episode, but hopefully this will hold you all until then. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you do choose to become a patron. That way you could be here with one of the most live, lit, smaller communities, but smartest communities on the planet when you're talking about Big Brother, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to be out y'all here, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Until next time.